There comes a time in life when the noise of the world becomes too heavy, too loud, and peace becomes the most precious currency you own. Not status, not approval, not being liked by everyone. Just pure, undisturbed peace. And here's the hard truth no one tells you until you're older, that peace is fragile and the wrong people will shatter it in seconds. You see, there's something sobering about aging, not in a sad or negative way, but in the way your soul finally begins to crave what truly matters. When we were younger, we tolerated more than we should have. We had the stamina to sit through endless complaints, entertain constant negativity, and keep up appearances with people who drained us emotionally. But as the years pass and your energy becomes more sacred, your spirit starts whispering, "Not anymore." Because let's face it, there's a certain kind of person you simply can't afford to entertain in this stage of life. And if you value your peace, your clarity, your health, you must avoid the chronic complainers. You know exactly who I mean. The ones who are allergic to joy, the ones who can turn a sunny day into a storm cloud with just a sentence. If it's hot, it's too hot. If it's cold, it's unbearable. If they're at a restaurant, the food is too salty, too bland, or not like the place they used to go to before everything went downhill. And it never ends. They don't just vent, they live in complaint. It's their native language. Now, don't get me wrong, we all have rough days. We all need to let off steam now and then. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who've made misery their lifestyle. The ones who see the worst in everything. The ones who pollute the air of every room they enter with pessimism so thick, it clings to your skin long after they're gone. What makes them dangerous isn't just the words they say, but the spirit they carry. Negativity, you see, is as contagious as joy. Sit with a bitter soul too long, and their poison starts to leak into your bloodstream. You begin your day full of hope, but a single conversation with them drains your energy. You were grateful now, you're critical. You were light now, you're heavy. And it's not even your burden to carry. The danger is subtle. It creeps in slowly. First, you start seeing what's missing in your life instead of what's present. Then you begin rehearsing complaints instead of counting blessings. Your joy dulls. Your laughter fades. And before you know it, you've forgotten how to enjoy the very things you once cherished. And that is not how you should live, not now, not at this point in your journey. Because if there's one treasure age teaches us to protect, it's gratitude. Gratitude is the heartbeat of a joyful life. Every sunrise you witness, every warm cup of coffee, every smile from someone who loves you that is sacred. That is wealth. That is life whispering, "I'm still with you." But spend too much time with someone who grumbles about everything, and you'll miss those whispers entirely. You'll start believing the world is going backwards, that nothing is good anymore, that people are worse, that joy is scarce. But it's not. What's scarce is your time. What's limited is your energy. And what's valuable is your peace. Now, hear this clearly. This is not about abandoning people who are hurting. This is not about turning your back on someone who needs support. There's a difference between helping someone rise and drowning in their refusal to swim. If someone always brings problems, but never solutions, if they shoot down every ray of hope, if they reject encouragement like it's an insult, then you must make a decision. Either you keep absorbing that poisoner, you finally say, "No more." And that's not cruelty, that's wisdom. You owe it to yourself to protect your mind, your heart, your spirit, especially now. You've carried enough weight in your life. You've proven your loyalty. You've paid your dues. You deserve to live this season lighter, brighter, and free from the dark cloud of constant complaint. So be mindful. Pay attention to how people make you feel after you've spent time with them. If someone's presence leaves you feeling smaller, bitter, anxious, or emotionally exhausted, ignore that. That's your soul warning you. Walk away. Walk away not in anger but in clarity. Walk away not because you don't care, but because you care too much about the peace you fought so hard to find. Life is short, and shorter still are the moments we get to live it well. Fill those moments with beauty, with people who make you laugh deeply, love boldly, and dream wildly. Fill them with gratitude, not grumbling. With inspiration, not irritation. With hope, not heaviness. And the next time you feel the urge to join in on someone's negativity, to echo their complaints or match their bitterness, pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, do I want to spend my remaining years counting burdens or counting blessings? Because the answer to that one question will shape not just your days, but the legacy of your entire life. You see, once you've cleared your heart of constant complainers, there's another threat waiting in the shadows, and this one wears a warmer smile but carries sharper teeth. Because not every danger in old age is loud. Some come wrapped in affection, hidden behind familiar faces, and they don't want your peace, they want your wallet. It starts subtly. The first time, it sounds like a simple favor, a one-time thing, just a little help. They say nothing major, nothing permanent. You feel compassion. You say yes, because that's who you are. You care. You've always been generous. But what they see isn't kindness, it's opportunity. And financial leeches, once they find an open door, don't just walk through it, they build a home inside it. They come back again and again, each time with a new story, a fresh excuse, another emergency. And the requests? They don't stay small. They grow, like weeds. First it's a utility bill. Then it's rent. Then it's a car. Then it's a business idea that just needs a little push. And you, with your generous heart and your trusting nature, keep giving. Because they don't just ask, they manipulate. They pull at your heartstrings. They remind you of their struggles. They talk about hard times, sad stories, all wrapped in emotion. And if guilt doesn't do the trick, they try flattery instead. Oh, you're so wise. You've always been so kind. No one understands like you do. But it's not praise, it's strategy. Words carefully chosen, not to uplift your spirit, but to lower your guard. And without even realizing it, you're not just helping someone through a tough patch, you're sponsoring a pattern. You're funding irresponsibility. You're paying the price for someone else's poor decisions. And the worst part? They don't even appreciate it. Because the moment you finally say no, the moment you hesitate, their mask falls off. Suddenly, you're not generous anymore, you're selfish. Suddenly, the person who came with a smile now disappears with silence. They stop calling, stop visiting. Because what they really loved wasn't you, it was what you gave them. And when that runs dry, so does their affection. Now, don't misunderstand, there is nothing wrong with helping someone you love who is genuinely in need. That's compassion, that's grace. But there is a world of difference between lifting someone up and letting them pull you down. One is love, the other is exploitation. And as you get older, you must learn to tell the difference. You've worked hard for decades. You've saved, sacrificed, planned. You've earned the right to enjoy your golden years, not to feel pressured into giving everything away just to keep someone close. Because anyone who only stays in your life when the money is flowing was never truly there for you. And here's the truth, most people are too afraid to say, those who abuse your generosity will never stop on their own. They won't suddenly wake up and grow a conscience. They'll keep coming as long as you keep giving. Which means the responsibility doesn't fall on them to change it, falls on you to set the boundary. And yes, they might call you cold, they might accuse you of changing, but what they really mean is, you stopped letting me control you. Real love never manipulates. Real friendship doesn't guilt trip. And true family loves you for who you are, not what you can provide. They don't make you feel like your love has to come with a price tag. They're there whether you can give them $1 or not a single cent. So yes, be generous, but be wise. Help where your spirit says yes, not where your fear says, I have to. Because when someone uses your kindness as a tool, that's not love, it's leverage. And in this stage of your life, you don't need people who see you as a walking bank account. You need people who see your worth when your hands are empty. People who come to check on your heart, not just your finances. People who stay even when you have nothing left to give. Now, let's talk about something even more complicated, something harder to admit. Manipulative family. Family is supposed to be the soft place to land, the constant, the circle of safety. But let's be honest, not every family member brings peace. Some bring pressure, guilt, chaos. And when you're older, that kind of emotional drain doesn't just hurt your heart, it affects your mind, your energy, and yes, even your health. Manipulative relatives are the most difficult to walk away from. Why? Because they use love as a trap. They know you care. They know you want to do the right thing. And they twist that desire until you start believing their needs are your responsibility. They'll say things like, after everything I've done for you, you're the only one I can count on. Is this how you treat your own family? And if that doesn't work, they bring up the past, remind you of favors they once did, rewrite history to make you feel indebted. Until suddenly, you are the one apologizing, even when you've done nothing wrong. But love should never feel like a trap. Family should never make you feel like protecting your peace is a betrayal. Because real love doesn't demand, it respects. Real family doesn't guilt, they give grace. And if someone is using your heart against you, that's not love, it's control. Manipulators don't want connection, they want access. They don't ask if you have the time, the strength, or the desire. They just expect your yes, every time. But let me say this clearly. You can love someone and still say no. You can care and still protect your peace. You can offer kindness without surrendering your boundaries. Love given under pressure is not love at all, it's obedience. And that's not what your golden years are meant for. You deserve more. You've earned more. Not just in your bank account, but in your soul. And if someone, family or not, makes you choose between your well-being and their comfort, remember this, that's not your burden to carry. You see, when you've spent a lifetime giving, when you've bent and stretched and sacrificed to hold relationships together, there comes a moment, especially as you grow older, when you finally begin to see patterns with painful clarity. That moment where you realize the ones who only show up when they need something were never truly showing up for you. It's not about the closeness of the bloodline or how many years you've shared the same family table. It's about intention. It's about consistency. It's about respect. Because if someone, no matter how closely related, only comes around when they need a favor, a loan, a rescue, or a shoulder, but disappears the moment you need a sliver of support, then what they're offering isn't love, it's manipulation. What they're doing isn't family, it's exploitation. And what do you do when that happens? You set boundaries, not because you stopped loving, but because you started healing. You decide, with clear mind and full heart, what you are willing to give and, just as importantly, what you will no longer allow. And when those same people come knocking again, trying to pull you back into that old pattern of guilt and obligation, you take a breath and remember this truth. Your peace matters too. Because manipulative people don't stop manipulating just because you keep saying yes. They only stop when your no becomes stronger than their pressure. And when that happens, when they realize they can no longer control you, they will react. They may sulk, they may guilt trip, they may even vanish altogether, but let them, because love doesn't demand you lose yourself. Real love respects boundaries. It doesn't demand excess, it earns it. You see, as the years pass, something shifts deep inside you. You find yourself no longer craving crowds, but craving calm. You stop tolerating chaos and instead start cherishing quiet. You begin to recognize how sacred your energy is and how quickly it can be drained by the wrong people. And if there's one type of person who can silently wreak havoc on your peace, it's the gossiper. Yes, the whisperers, the storytellers, the ones who always have something to say about everyone else, but never have the humility to reflect on their own lives. You know exactly who they are. They thrive on drama like a fire thrives on dry wood. They show up, not with warmth, but with whispers leaning in with that infamous line, "Did you hear about so-and-so?" And just like that, you're pulled into their vortex of noise. At first, it might feel harmless, even entertaining. A little story here, a little drama there. But let me warn you, if someone is comfortable gossiping to you, they are likely gossiping about you the moment you leave the room. Their loyalty is paper thin, and their stories are rarely grounded in truth. Gossip isn't about fact. It's about stirring the pot, about feeding egos and fueling conflict. And the danger isn't just in the lies they spread, it's in what it does to your own heart. Sit with that energy long enough, and it starts to seep into you. You begin to look at others with suspicion, to see flaws where there once was grace, to speak about people before you've taken time to understand them. You slowly become part of the very cycle you once thought you were only observing. Gossip doesn't just damage reputations, it damages souls. It breaks trust. It poisons conversations. It tears down the fabric of community stitch by stitch. And if you're not careful, you'll look back and realize you've spent precious years of your life focusing on other people's chaos instead of cultivating your own peace. So what do? You step back. You don't lean in. You don't nod along. You don't play the role of a silent accomplice. Instead, you say the words that gossips fear the most. "That's not my business." Or better yet, "Let's talk about something positive." And watch how quickly their interest fades. Because gossip needs a spark to survive, and you have the power to withhold that flame. Your time is too precious. Your peace is too valuable. Your joy is too sacred to waste on drama that adds nothing to your life. Surround yourself with people who speak lift not, those who drain it. With people who uplift not, those who tear others down just to feel taller. And as you continue to age with grace, you begin to see people for who they truly are, not just who they pretend to be. Because when you're younger, it's easy to believe that everyone who smiles at you means well. It's easy to believe that someone calling you family means they'll act like it. But as time moves forward, truth has a way of revealing itself. And one of the hardest truths you'll face is this: some people only come around when it benefits them. They call when they need something. They appear when they're in trouble. They flatter when they want a favor. But when you're the one who needs encouragement, comfort, presence, all you get is silence. And that silence is deafening. You begin to realize that for some, your presence was never about you, it was about what you could provide. And that is the moment your heart shifts. That is the moment you stop chasing one-sided connections. That is the moment you begin protecting your space like the sacred ground it is. Because you finally understand, not everyone deserves access to you. And the ones who do, they never make you question your worth in the first place. You gave your time, your care, your love, but when it was your turn to need them, they were nowhere to be found. That's when the truth starts to sink in. Some people weren't there for you, only for what you could offer. And that's the heartbreak that creeps in slowly. You could be in the middle of one of the hardest seasons of your life, struggling silently, carrying burdens that feel heavier by the day, and they wouldn't even notice. Why? Because they were never truly invested in your well-being. They were only invested in their own needs, their own comfort, their own gain. These people, the ones who vanish when you're in pain but resurface when they need something, are dangerous, not because they're obvious, but because they aren't. They know exactly care, deeply, truly care. You tend to overlook the signs. You make excuses. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they're going through something too. Maybe they'll be there next time. But that next time, it never comes. You start waiting, hoping, and eventually realizing. You begin to see the pattern, the imbalance, the truth behind the smiles. You're always the giver, the one who checks in, who remembers birthdays, who shows up when they're sick, who supports them even when you're exhausted. And them, they're always the taker, the one who shows up only when it's convenient. And when you finally ask for something, when you need a little bit of that energy back, suddenly they're busy. Suddenly, they go quiet. Suddenly, you're too much. But hear me, real relationships don't function like that. Real love, whether in friendship or family, is built on mutual care, not transactional convenience. If someone only values you when they're in need, then they don't value you, they value your utility. And the sooner you accept that reality, the sooner you free yourself from the emotional drain they cause. Because your time, your energy, your life, it's too precious to keep pouring into people who have no intention of pouring anything back into you. And I get it, it's hard. Especially when the person is someone close, a family member, an old friend, someone you've known for decades. Walking away feels like betrayal. Setting a boundary feels like punishment. But here's what you must understand. Relationships built on guilt are not love. Relationships maintained by fear of letting someone down are not loyalty. They're emotional chains. So what do? You start reclaiming your space. You stop answering every phone call from someone who only remembers your number when they need a favor. You stop bending over backwards for people who wouldn't even walk a step for you. You stop apologizing for saying no, and you begin investing your love, your kindness, your presence into people who actually value them. Because yes, those people do exist. The ones who call just to check on you. The ones who notice when something's wrong without being told. The ones who love you for your heart, not your resources. The ones who stay even when there's nothing to gain. These are your people, your tribe. They may be few, but they are precious. And in this chapter of life, quality always outweighs quantity. Let's be honest, one of the hardest parts about aging isn't the gray hairs, the slower steps, or even the quiet moments. It's realizing how some people begin to treat you. How they start overlooking your voice, your wisdom, your value. Suddenly, you go from being someone they listen to someone they look through. And if you're not careful, that kind of dismissal can start to sink in. It can make you question your worth. It can make you shrink. It can even convince you that your best days are behind you, that you've become invisible. But let me tell you the truth. Your value does not fade with time. Your voice still carries weight. Your insight still matters. The world may overlook it, but God never does. Your life has depth that only age can bring. You've survived storms. You've learned from pain. You've walked through seasons that would have broken others, and you're still standing. That alone is wisdom the world desperately needs. So don't let the world's obsession with youth rob you of your dignity. Don't let being overlooked make you question your importance. If someone interrupts your story, keep talking. If someone walks past you without a glance, hold your head higher. You're not invisible. You are experienced. You're not irrelevant. You're wise. And if someone fails to see the treasure you are, that says more about their blindness than your brilliance, because real worth, it doesn't fade, it deepens. And if the world dares to forget your value, let your presence remind it, because age doesn't diminish your worth, it deepens it. Every breakthrough, every timeless truth, every foundation the world stands on today, it all came from someone who lived long enough to learn, to teach, and to pass it on. But somehow, we've arrived in a world where that legacy is often ignored, where youth is worshipped and wisdom is whispered away, where the loudest voices are rarely the wisest, and where those who've truly lived are treated as if they've outlived their usefulness. Isn't that strange? That we celebrate what's new, even when it lacks depth, and overlook the very people who've walked through fire, who've carried generations on their backs, who've seen enough to know what actually matters. We live in a culture obsessed with trends, the next big thing, the newest gadget, the flashiest lifestyle, and somewhere in that noise, we start to lose sight of something sacred, wisdom. Because wisdom doesn't come from likes or followers. It doesn't come from speed or novelty. Wisdom is forged in time, in heartbreaks overcome, in battles survived, in quiet choices made again and again with love, with patience, with courage. And if there's one thing you've earned, it's the right to speak without being dismissed. You see, you know what matters now. You've watched trends rise and fall like waves. You've seen promises made and broken. You've seen what's real and what's fake, and that clarity. It's priceless. That depth, it can't be Googled or downloaded. That's the kind of knowledge the world needs more of, not less. But here's the painful truth. Some people will never see it. Some people will continue to treat your wisdom like background noise because they're too busy chasing illusions. So what do? You stop wasting time trying to prove your worth to people who refuse to see it. You stop shrinking your voice just because the room has gotten louder. You stop handing your years of experience to people who treat them like they're expired. And instead, you stand taller. You speak stronger. You surround yourself with those who listen not just out of politeness, but out of respect. Because the right people, they do exist. There are still souls out there who will value your presence, not just your performance. There are still people who will seek your counsel not because they want to use it, but because they know it's rooted in truth. There are still hearts who will hear your stories and see the gold within them, not the dust. These are the people who belong in your life now. These are the ones worthy of your precious time. Because here's the deeper truth. You're still here. You're still breathing. You still matter. And as long as you have breath in your lungs and love in your heart, your life has purpose. Your presence is not accidental. You are not a shadow. You are a pillar, a voice, a living, walking legacy. Don't let anyone treat you otherwise. And yes, as you age, your circle will shrink, but let it shrink. Let it refine. Let it filter out the noise, the users, the dismissers, the ones who only came close when they needed something, but vanished when you needed care. Let them go. Because peace is the true currency of this chapter. Not popularity, not approval, not performance. Peace. So protect it. Protect your time from the ones who never give any of theirs. Protect your energy from those who take more than they offer. Protect your heart from the ones who confuse love with obligation. Because you've earned the right to choose who you give your soul space to. You've earned the right to close the door on manipulation, to walk away from gossip, to say no to emotional thieves. You've earned the right to love with clarity, not guilt. And hear this clearly, you're not bitter for choosing peace. You're not selfish for setting boundaries. You're not cold for walking away. You're wise. And wisdom isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It stands firm, even when misunderstood. It loves deeply, even when unreciprocated. And it walks forward even when alone because it knows the worth of stillness, of truth, of freedom. So choose wisely. Choose people who bring warmth into the room. Choose voices that lift yours, not drown it out. Choose souls that sit with you, not because of what you can give, but because of who you are. Because in this season, this precious, golden season, nothing matters more than surrounding yourself with people who see you, who really see you. People who understand that aging isn't fading, it's becoming clearer, stronger, deeper, and more unapologetically you. And the beauty is, you don't need a crowd to validate your worth. You just need one honest voice, one real embrace, one friend who listens, and one quiet room where your presence is enough. So be where your value is honored. Be with those who honor your journey. And always, always remember you're not just living years, you're building legacy.